Good morning.
Good morning.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
I'm Ruben Anthony. I'm the president and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Madison. And I'm happy to talk to you this morning about the work that we do at the Urban League. The things that I'll share with you today are through my lens as a person who has been a part of the Urban League movement for 8 months. I want to share with you today about the Urban League. The two most recognized civil rights organizations in America are the Urban League and the NAACP. The NAACP was founded in 1909, and the Urban League was established in 1910. This affiliate here in Madison came about in 1968, but the Urban League came about between the 1910s and all the way through the 1970s. There was a great migration. People were frustrated in the South. Jim Crow was running rampant, and people were looking for opportunities to come north. So they came to northern cities in Wisconsin, Michigan, New York, and other places, hoping that they would have more opportunity than they had in the South. But when they came to those northern cities, they left Jim Crow, but they found racism in another form. There was racism in employment. There was racism in schools, and a lot of them did not have resources in the cities to help them deal with the racism and find their way to opportunities. But the Urban League was there in many of these cities to help people navigate their circumstances. The Urban League has 92 affiliates throughout the country, and they've been helping people for a long time. The Urban League has been a wayfinding organization so that most people, when they move to a city, even today, whether they're coming for employment or help with their children's schools, they look at the Urban League as a place where they can come and find that help. And so today, under my leadership, I espouse that same type of philosophy, is that even if we don't have the service, we have to be a place that people in this community that are needy, that can come and find a way, and we can help them find their way. Every day, somebody comes into our organization and they need help, whether it's a young person who has AODA issues, or whether it's a person who has lost a job and need to redo their resume and to reposition themselves for work. So, similar to like the Oscar Myers situation, as people are leaving out, we'll step up and we'll help those from Oscar Myers with resumes and all those other things. So we're truly, we see ourselves as an attribute to this city. Okay? So here's the mission of the Urban League. Our mission is to improve the social and economic conditions of African Americans and other people of color and the economic disadvantage in the community. So we want to make a difference, again, as people look for help. We've been here. We're not some fly-by-night organization. We're that organization that's going to be there to help in this community and other communities. The Urban League has been a long-standing resource in this community, not just in this community, but across this country. And I believe that we're helping people rebuild their lives, because sometimes when people come to the Urban League, they've lost confidence, they've lost faith, because they made many attempts to get into the workplace or to get help for their children, and they just haven't had it. But we've been able to build opportunities and relationships with employers where we might be able to open a door that a person can't open for themselves. We believe that we're an organization of second chances, right? I believe that people don't always get it right the first time. And so we have to be there to kind of help direct them to make a difference in their lives. In many instances, there's no other option. When people come to us, the only option they have is us. And so they come there and they're in a lot of need. And sometimes it's early in the morning, they can't wait for the doors to open. The other day we had a young man to say, he says, I'm coming here every day till I get some help, until I get the right help. And I try to get our staff poised to say, that's what we got to be about, right? We have to be about helping that young person, or even that person that has a change in their career, move their lives forward. And even if we don't have the resource, we have to help them find it. So we're often the voice of those who are voiceless, right? A lot of times there are people that are trapped in poverty, and it's hard to believe that in a city like Madison that people can actually be trapped in poverty. But I'll tell you from a guy that grew up in New York, and I know what poverty is, and I know what it is not to be able to dream your way beyond your circumstances. But in a city that is rich as Madison, we still have that going on right here in the city, where there's young people, there's senior citizens that are trapped in their circumstances and they don't have hope. And I hope that when they come to the Urban League and we provide them help, that we might open up a door that might instill hope in them. And one of the things in this community, there are a lot of folks who are chronically unemployed, and they're challenged because they haven't been in a job in a long time, and they've had many attempts that have failed. One of our expertise is being patient and working with those who are chronically unemployed to help them find their way. So for many African Americans, the Urban League has continued to be a refuge, right? A safe place that you can come and you can know that you can talk to someone and be safe. People of color and poor people know that they can come to us for help. We see ourselves as a vital community resource. If there is any organization that the community, at least the African American community, says that it is their own, that's the Urban League. They have expectations for us that go far beyond sometimes what we're able to do, but they see the Urban League as their place and as their refuge. Oftentimes, again, we are connections between the unemployed and employers. And we do a lot to build our relationships with employers. We have featured employer seminars, in which I'll talk about when we go over our program, and a lot of other things so that we build relationships so that when we pick up the phone and call the HR person at a different company, that they'll talk to us. But one of the things that we tell our folks who come in when we train them, we say, you're going in there, you're representing the Urban League, and so we expect that you to set a good example and build high standards, because there are people that's going to be coming behind you. So I don't want someone to call me and say that you sent to somebody, they didn't come here ready to work, or they didn't come here ready to work harder, they came in and they left a bad example. So we want to definitely make sure that our people, when they go, they're leaving a good example. A lot of times, African Americans and other minorities feel disenfranchised from the schools. They don't feel like they're on equal footing with teachers and administrators in the schools. So a lot of times we have to be advocates for families, and we have to be advocates for children. We are the person or the organization in the community, when there's challenges in the community, we're always get a phone call and say, what do you think about this? Can you help with this? And it ranges from incidents with the police, it ranges from when bad statistics come out, but we always get a call, and usually someone wants to interview or for us to say something about social situations. Oftentimes they look for us to bring groups together to have discussions. We also are actively involved in creating a home ownership and helping people fulfill the American dream through owning a home. But then one of the things that we're real proud of is that we help students be the best that they can be. We steer them towards careers, and also give them the possibility to be prepared to enter college. So we're a vital part of Madison's urban fabric, and I think that we've demonstrated since 1968 that we are of value to this community. So here's just an introduction of some of the programs we work with. We have our Schools of Hope and our 21st Century Careers Program. We have a housing program, and we have an employment program. So let's look at some of those. So, one more. So we have the Schools of Hope. It's an educational program. The Schools of Hope are in the middle schools, in 9 middle schools in Madison, and 2 in Sun Prairie, and 1 in Oregon. So again, we provide like academic tutoring and mentorship to students at the middle school level. And we try to, so if any of you are interested in tutoring, we have opportunity for you. You want to help? Because what I'm telling people now is that, everybody wants to spectate, right? But with the challenges that we have in this community, there is no time for spectating. We have to change, make change, and we have to have some skin in the game. What our Schools of Hope gives you an opportunity to participate. So We enroll about 852 students that do 3 or more sessions. We have about 648 students that do 8 or more sessions. But the thing that I'm really proud of is that we mobilize about 478 community volunteers to help us throughout the year. So so there's an opportunity for you. So here's the schools that we serve. Again, in Madison and Sun Prairie, from 6th to 9th grade. We have staff in the schools at Patrick March, Prairie View, Cardinal Heights, and James C. Wright. This is for our 21st Century Careers Program. And at the 21st Century Careers Program, we try to get young people to start thinking about what they want to do in careers today. For some people, you might need to explore careers because the trades are out there and there are other things that you want to do. Everybody's not going to go to college, and some might. But even if you're deciding to go to college, you need to explore careers. So we've partnered with businesses in the community that hire our students to help them during the summer get acclimated with careers. So we actually had this summer 30 students who were placed in internships. We started with 30, 28 successfully finished. So they got an opportunity to work in the industry and get a feel for what it's like to be on the job. Now let's talk about our employment programs. So our goal is to help make Dane County the place for African Americans and others to work, to grow professionally, to assume advanced leadership opportunities, and reinvest in the community. So here's the thing, we accomplish these through classes, mentoring, coaching, and if we have to help them with transportation and making the intros and things like that, we do that through a variety of programs. So our Foundation Work Readiness Program. This is a program where we do 100 hours of training. If you've been out of the workforce for a while and you don't know what to do, and there you go. And you really need to find your way back into the workforce. Our Foundation Workforce Readiness Academy is that place that you should go, and you get the 100 hours of training and whatever else you need. So the healthcare industry is one of those industries that continue to grow. And so what we try to do is we match up our training with the demand. So we do look at those occupations that are in demand, and we try to prepare the individuals that come through our training program for that. And so healthcare is one of those things. We prepare folks in the area of healthcare where they might be able to go in to do administrative, clerical, and other things. We partner with Madison College, and this includes giving them credit in medical technology, healthcare customer service, healthcare privacy, and then we're one of the only entities in the city that provides a pre-employment program for the Epic training on the Epic software. So this is a pretty good program and one that's in demand. Customer service, we know that as we've in this de-industrialization era where we've seen manufacturing and a lot of other industries decline, well, customer service is on the rise. So this is one of those demand industries where we've decided that we're going to do training for customer service and sales. It's a 6-week training program, and many people come through this program and then they're able to go and help with sales forces and help with customer service and other companies. This one is one of our most popular ones, and this one really is one that when you go through this training program, you're very marketable in the IT industry. And so we have an IT Careers Academy, and through this partnership with UW-Madison, Charter Communication, and we prepare individuals to be entry-level IT help desk people. And this course is a 7-week training, and they get paid work experience so that they can actually be help with networks and IT help desk and a number of things, government and private sector. And then we have culinary creations for our food service, which is to get you your Safe Serve certification to go out and be to work in the food service industry and provide an exceptional service. We actually do this together with the Catholic Multicultural Center. So individuals that are interested in cooking or interested in working in food service, this Serve Safe certification is very good for them. And then the Foundation for Trades program is one of those programs that really prepares individuals who want to work in the trades, wants to be a carpenter, want to work in the construction industry, all of these things. Actually, I think I saw our foundations person here, sitting over there, Terry, yeah, Rick, okay. And so we work with a lot of people. These jobs pay a lot of money, and these are jobs that if you, are not interested in academics or not interested in customer service and some of these other things, that these pay good money. With this training program, it's a 7-week training program. You get certain certifications. You get your OSHA 10 certification, National Flag certification, and other skills that really make you very marketable. And one of our programs that don't get enough attention is our single family home ownership program. Over time, we've given out or helped people into like 50 different homes. An individual or family that may not have the credit worthiness, we'll work with them to kind of get them to a state where they can afford a home, and we'll actually kind of make the purchase and allow them to acquire the home and gain some of the equity from this program. So here's some of our signature events. If you want to be supportive and you want to work with the Urban League, we got coming up our Martin Luther King breakfast, and it's usually held at Edgewood College, and it'll be this January. What's the date?
January 17th.
January 17th. You could participate that way. And some of these dates may not be right, but we do have a day of service on January 15th where we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. We have our Urban Cabaret, which was a huge success, which is usually a huge success, and this year it was no different. And then in the spring, we have our Diversity and Economic Development Summit that we work with MadRep to really bring diversity and economic development together. And then we also have a young professionals group where we actually do a spring gala. So now I want to get to some of the issues that we face. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we saw information come out to talk about the graduation disparity between African American students and white students. And typically, when these types of statistics come out, the news will call, newspapers will call, TVs will call, radios will call and say, what do you guys think about this? Are you disappointed? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm disappointed. What do you think? I mean, this community works very hard, to make sure that, children are succeeding no matter where they're from. We work very hard with our middle school programs to help students. So when we have the statistic to come out and say that there's disparity, certainly we're concerned. One of the reasons that we have disparities here is that some groups do exceptionally well, and some groups do exceptionally bad in Madison, and we got to change that thing. So, but is there a silver bullet? I don't think so. I think that it's a whole lot that we need to do. I don't think that we can point fingers to say that the schools have failed us, because I think that schools have a responsibility. I think that families have a responsibility. I think that communities have a responsibility, and I think young people have a responsibility. So it's a whole assortment of things that really need to happen for kids to have success. So do we have to do better? Yeah, we have to do better at this because we're the worst in the nation with that disparity. So we have to own it, and then we have to do something about it. So the disparities have a lot to do with how kids perform in school. We have seen the disparities in Madison and Milwaukee, and we are seeing results of what happens when children suffer from disparities. So I think that one of the root causes to academic achievement and the gaps that we see in disparities is that families are suffering disparities in general. If a family does not have a sustainable wage where they can keep the family together, where the young people are going to school with a meal and not hungry, and the young people are going to school with clothes and stuff where they get teased, or if they don't have a support base at home, those things are problematic. So in order to make a difference in this academic gap, I believe that we have to make a difference with all the disparities that have been exposed to us over the last few years. I think that we have to take a multi-generational approach. I don't think that, we can just focus on the student. I think that we have to focus on the family. We have to bring the resources together, and I see that happening through our school system here. They're looking to build community schools that will take that family approach where they'll care about, child care and making sure that if you need a parent to be at a school event, that child care is happening. And so it's a whole host of things that need to happen. But Madison, I think, is a great community, and I think that we recognize this problem and we're rolling up our sleeves to kind of work on it. And it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be fast, but I think that we have the will in this community to kind of get it done. So the other problem that we had, and we all saw this play out, is community and police relationships. And we've seen this play out across the nation, right? If it had not been for smartphones, we would have never known how endemic, or how systematic the disparities are in the treatment of citizens by police. Now, our police work very hard, and we got some great police officers out there, but we see it over and over and over again that someone has taken a video of a police officer, beating, a person, and usually it's a person of color, and we have to stop that. We have to stop it. Had it not been for social media and the advent of the camera cell phone, we would have never known that a lot of this stuff was going on. So the challenge, when I talk to Chief Koval and other policing leaders, I say that we have to get beyond this thing where police officers think that they have an unchecked moral authority. And that unchecked moral authority means that you can treat, people any way that you want. And again, some police officers do a good job, but some police officers, they have these stereotypes and they have these biases, and I don't care if it's me in a suit or I don't care if it's Barack Obama, because you're African American or that you're Latino, that you may get treated differently, and that has to stop. Stereotypes have to stop. So the other question that I often get is, how do we improve race relations? And I said, well, we got work to do. In short, I think that when people feel like their freedoms are being violated, whether it's they're not getting fair treatment in the schools, whether they're not getting fair treatment by the police, I think that Madison has always been a place where we can peacefully express our civil disobedience, But the other thing is that we all have to be accepting that we all view things through different lenses sometimes. Our experience, unless you walk in a person's shoes, you just don't know. So that's why it's so important for us to have different voices at the table, no matter what the circumstance or situation is in our community. Multiple voices need to be sitting at the table and talking about how we can do this together. If we divide ourselves when an issue happens in this community based on race, based on socioeconomic conditions, based on religion and things like that, we'll never cross the barriers that we need to cross. And so we have to continue to believe that we can do it together here in Madison. So in the long term, I think that we have to address the disparities. There's been a light shed on disparities in this community, and we can't act like they don't exist. We need to figure out what we can do to rid ourselves of these disparities. So then we have to do things about institutional racism, because sometimes there can be institutions that just have built historical racism. And I think about the Baltimore situation where a black man was killed and black police officers were heavily involved in that. And I'm like, how in the world could that happen? The only way that could happen is that it's built into the institution that this is the way that you treat citizens. In particular, this is the way you treat a class of citizens. This is the way you treat black citizens. And so it could happen that the institutional could have such a biased structure that people just think that's just the way to act, and we've got to change that. Okay, so hit one at a time. So the first one, so the other thing that I wanted to do is identify what I think are some of the top, 10 challenges for this community. And I talked some about this. The perpetuation of racial stereotypes would be number 10. We all have these sometimes misconceptions about, people of color or people of different ethnic backgrounds, and that plays out. And it doesn't help when the media, is always showing like the bad side of one group. And I talk with the media quite a bit and say, well, we need to do a better job. If there's a robbery and it's an African American involved in the robbery, they say that black man, did the robbery. And so you've pretty much identified that, well, it's a black man. But when it's a Caucasian that did the robbery, it's like, well, that Caucasian. It's the same thing, or they don't mention Caucasian, they say that man. Right. So we saw the same thing in New Orleans, when they had the Katrina take place. They showed two situations where one, an African-American man was going into food because he was in distress and he said, this guy's robbing. But then when the white family was going in to get the food, he said, well, this guy needs to feed his family, And so we see things through a different lens, and so we have different racial stereotypes that we put out on different groups, and we just got to get beyond that. So here's another thing, and this comes from the transportation in me. One of the things that we find out with our programs is that sometimes jobs are too far out and the bus might not go out there, and a lot of people don't have access to transit. So there's a spatial mismatch where the jobs are at the edge of the city, in Middleton, or it might be in Sun Prairie, and people just can't get there. Or jobs are at a night shift and the bus doesn't run, and so they can't get there. Or one of the things that's happening in industry now too is industry is flexing so much now that people don't have set schedules. Like in retail, they are so sophisticated now that if they know that they don't have the work volume, they'll change a person's schedule. Now a family has to find transportation, and the family also has to find a new babysitter. Number 8, there are access barriers for minority workers. And for minority business in both the public sector and the private sector. For some reason, Citi did a disparity study here not long ago, and they said, well, there are not a whole lot of African American businesses here, so we don't have to have goals. Well, there's a reason that they're not here. There's a reason here because why would you take your retirement savings and try to do a business, or why would you take your equity out of your home if you think that business is going to fail because the climate is not accepting of your to be in business, or that government, the door is going to be closed, or with the private sector, they're not going to use you. Not because you're not as good as someone else, because we go to the same colleges and universities as everybody else here, Madison, Marquette, and the schools that we hold in high esteem here, but yet we don't get the same reception whether we're in business or whether we're coming in for a job. So again, there's no plan anywhere in the city for African American business development. A lot of times when the business deals are going on, we don't get called to the table when we're conceptualizing this to say, well, how might you address the market demand for African Americans or others? But when the deal is put together and there's no more upside opportunities, we get called to the table and say, well, how might we include African Americans? Well, it's too late now. Everybody's split up the kitty and there's nothing left, but now you're telling us to come in and try to help you fix this situation. So the other thing I found out is that in this community in particular, we have what we call, this is a naturally occurring retirement center, a NOR, where seniors in this community, they want to retire in place, right? They don't want to go to the nursing home. They want to stay right in their house. But there's not enough services here so that they can maintain their dignity and independence. And so we don't want to put money into seniors, and we have to change that. In this community, we have to find ways that we can keep seniors healthy and that we can keep seniors actively engaged, and that they can, we can do things so that they can maintain their independence. Whether it's social activities and other things that we do, we can't forget about our seniors. And in this community in particular, particular, African American seniors have big challenges. This summer, we had an IT camp for seniors because a lot of the seniors came up to me to say, we don't know how to use iPhones, we don't know how to use social media, and we don't know how to do all this stuff that they do. And you guys are not doing anything for us at the Urban League. So we did the IT camp for seniors. But what prompted me to do this IT camp for seniors is that my mother-in-law is in her 80s, and she lives in Milwaukee, and all day she sits at the window and she looks outside, and they've been in the same house for 60 years, so she knows everything that's going on. People leave the community for 30 years, they come back to visit her. But my wife and I brought her an iPad. When we brought her that iPad, she's on this iPad 24/7 now. She's on the iPad in the morning, she's on the iPad and at night, you know, and she's getting into her grandchildren and great-grandchildren's social space. They're blocking her out because she's getting way too nosy. She's on looking at Urban League stuff and commenting. I'm like, we got to do something about her, you know. I mean, but she loves this thing, and it has given her new energy, you know, in life. And my father-in-law, he's 87, and he's like, yeah, he says it's a two-edged sword because he can watch more sports now, but she don't pay any attention to him. And so the cooking and all that stuff that she used to do, she's not doing quite as much as that. So this thing, we're gonna be careful about turning all this technology over to seniors because it could have an adverse impact on the household. You know, but it has been a good thing. The training was very good. We had about 50 people in the training, and it was just a wonderful thing. We actually collaborated with the continuing education program at UW, and we did this thing called reverse mentoring, where we had some students teach the seniors, and it was just it was a wonderful thing. So, and we also planned a trip, and we took a bunch of them out to American Players Theater. So, but we're going to be doing more stuff like that in the future. Is building bridges with the senior community. So here, limited resources to prepare. This is a big challenge now for this city, and this is a big challenge throughout the country. If you don't start kids off right, you know, between 0 to 5, there's so much evidence now saying that you can't start teaching kids too soon, but you can start too late. And if you are not starting right when the kid is first born, you know, some people say read to the baby while they're still in the womb and stuff, but you got to start reading to these children early. And I don't think we've resourced enough in this community, the 0 to 5. Before kids get into school, they need to be reading and they need to be prepared. And so we got to do more with that. So this is a big challenge for this community. And I think Madison gets it because a lot of foundations now are talking about resource in this area. So other problem that we all know that we have in this community is the homeless problem, right? So they just moved them from downtown, from the city county building, but we displaced them, you know, somewhere else. But the one thing, and so we haven't solved the problem, right? So the one thing that we don't pay attention to is there are a lot of working poor people, you know. A lot of people are sleeping on someone else's living room floor, or, you know, are crowded up, 3 families in one house and things like that, but it goes unnoticed because they're not sleeping on the street. So we have to do more about this situation in this city. So then I talked some about the implicit bias of law enforcement, and you know, we've got a great resource here, but you know, too often in this city and across the country are we seeing mishaps and where we're seeing poor customer service for African Americans and others from law enforcement. So there's a big difference between the level of unemployment among minorities and even, like I talked about, when we have the same credentials. If I walk in with a PhD and someone else walks in with the same experience with a PhD and they happen to be Caucasian, their credentials are looked at differently than mine. When it comes down to tenure in college or giving them the job, it's just a difference, and we gotta get beyond this. Okay. Number one problem is what we already talked about, is how we close the Student Achievement Gap. That's big because students are our future, and if we don't get on this and we don't figure out how to get this done, we're gonna be last. We're gonna be worse than Mississippi. Okay, so as I close, I want to close on a more positive note, because I do believe that despite the challenges that we have here in Madison, Madison is a good deal. I grew up in New York, right? So if you want to see hyper-ghettoization, go to New York, go to Chicago, go to Milwaukee and things like that. And so even though we have disparities here, the quality of life here in Madison is better than a lot of places and things like that. We just got to make sure that we're inclusive, you know, in how we do things. And so when you look at, like, even if you take the disparities that we just heard about in graduation rates, well, the disparities in the graduation rate are really bad because there's some people that are doing so good, you know, here in this state. But if you take our African Americans here and compare them to Milwaukee and other places and things like that, or even our living conditions, you'll see that there is a light, you know, we do okay. But we don't do well in comparison because some people are doing so well. And it's the barriers, access barriers, that cause the disparity between how well people do and how well some people don't do. So, but the one thing that I'm really comfortable with is that the collective spirit of people in Madison is great, right? When we roll up our sleeves and we say we want to work at something together, when we highlight problems in this community, I know that we can make a difference. And Madison is the type of community that when problems are highlighted, we don't run, right? We all pull together and say, yeah, it's a problem, but let's fix it. And so that's a good thing about this community. So the thing that we have to understand is that we can't just develop half of our citizens or develop 75% of our citizens. We have to develop all our citizens, and it's not just for the benefit of African Americans, Latinos, or the poor, it's for the benefit of the community as a whole. So one of the things that I challenge you to do is that we have to make the best and highest use of all talent, right? You know, I think it makes better sense to spend money on education than jailing. It's more expensive to jail people, but we never stop and think about, you know, we spend $50,000 a year on an inmate or more, and we scoff about putting money in the public education school system. What kind of society are we that we're more willing to jail people than we are to educate people? It's something that we don't pay much attention to. And with this homeless problem that we have in the city, rather than provide the mental health treatment, we're okay stepping over someone on the street, right? You know, that disturbs me that, you know, where is the moral arc, you know, in our culture today? And again, I think we ought to be teaching people how to fish, preparing people to do well for themselves opposed to always giving. And so this is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll open up for questions. Madison has to be a city of second chances. That means that we have to be a city of second chances. Some people don't get it right the first time, and I said that earlier, but we should still be committed to helping them find their way. It's good for them, and it's also necessary for making this the best city to live and work in. So, you know, we have to make it happen here. I think we can, but we have to be a city of second chances. I really appreciate you coming out in the Villager Mall here today to hear me. So I'm open to taking any question that you have. I might not be able to answer anything you asked me, but I'm open to hearing it. So thank you.